starting the show and he's digging us
Digging right at you guys. No, but you know, I was saying, you know, I was listening to you about your pyramid and all that sort of thing. As a former superintendent, we were doing the same thing, and in our communities, we forget that schools and the DA's office, the police, the hospitals, whomever, we're all working together constantly, and the people that we deal with, we know the families, we work with each other and all that sort of thing. So I'm glad you guys are here and doing a great job for the community as well. But I'm not going to talk about that sort of thing this morning. I'm going to talk about something that's a little bit more on the fun side. I was thinking about what I would talk about today, so I put on my Irish shirt here. And this week coming up is going to be a fun week, especially for myself and family members. I'm part Irish, and Mort and I have talked about this in other shows, about going back into our heritage and celebrating traditions of our heritage. And on the shirt it says something in Gaelic, which basically means 100,000 welcomes, and welcome to the show to all our viewers today. As a kid growing up, I had lots of mixed traditions coming from a multinational family. Of course, my dad was Irish, and the Doherty clan coming out of Kilkenny, Ireland. And then my mother, whenever she would kick up her heels a bit, when it was getting a little bit too much Irish, we had to remember that 2 days later after St. Patrick's Day was St. Joseph's Day, and so the Sicilian in me had to come into play. And then the third part of me was Belgian, and they just make a lot of good chocolate and beer. So we always had a lot of fun with all our traditions and our heritages. I wanted to kind of think about what we're all about here at the senior report, and that's bringing you information like these guys are talking about with the DA's office and the real world that we all live in. Unfortunately, some things aren't always as pleasant as we'd like to see, but sometimes we need to think about some of the fun things. Here in Chautauqua County, we've got a real bunch of resources that are out there that we seek from time to time, and that's just fun stuff. For instance, we just had the Ice Castle not too long ago, and people are working hard to bring opportunities for all of us to get off that couch after Jim talked about that long, drab, miserable winter and these long days that we sit at home, to get out a little bit and enjoy ourselves. This week coming up is St. Patrick's Day. I know Jamestown, I think somewhere about noon or 11 o'clock, the water turns green or something like that. What a fun time. What a neat thing to do. Get out there and enjoy some of the things that are going on. On a personal note, I don't know if you folks had read this in the newspaper or not, but I had the good fortune of myself and my partner Bill Jello. We were featured in an article called Irish Immersion, and we're talking about the fact that Bill and I are playing at an all-Irish pub down in Greenhurst, down on Route 430, right across from Heritage Green Nursing Home, and it's now called Steener's. And Bill and I are playing Thursday nights out there, and we're doing all Irish music. But how many places left in Chautauqua County where you can go find live music? And you know, a lot of times we see the places just playing radios or stereos or whatever, but to go out and listen to a good folk group or a rock and roll group or whatever, it's becoming almost a dinosaur out there for a lot of the clubs and organizations. But Bill and I, we've gone back and we've revisited the Clancy Brothers and the Dubliners and the Rebel Songs of Ireland and a lot of the Irish classics that came over from Ireland. And if you don't have a lot to do this coming Thursday, come on out and join us. Have a drink, have a meal, sing some of the songs with us. We'll teach you the stories behind all these Irish songs. And after that, make sure you drive safely, have a designated driver, because you don't want to have to meet Dave Foley in court. 2 days later, we'll switch our gear around. We'll switch out of our green, and you can enjoy a wonderful St. Joseph's Day. And I don't know if they do it too much around here, but when I was a child, we used to have these great St. Joseph tables where there was a big spread, and everybody came out and ate, and all the kids were running around, and the adults were sitting around talking politics and that sort of thing. But this is a great time of year to get family together to enjoy some of our heritage, our traditions, and so forth. So guys, happy St. Patrick's Day if you're of the Mediterranean persuasion, and happy St. Joseph's Day. Enjoy the week. Get out, enjoy, listen to some music, clap your hands, kick up your feet, and get out there and enjoy Chautauqua County at its very finest. This is Doc, sign off, and we'll see you next time. Back to you, Jim.
Thank you very much, John. my only tie to St. Patrick's Day is my middle name. It's Patrick. But I have no Irish blood in me at all. However, my children are all quarter Irish because my wife is half Irish. So we celebrate anyway, and if I'm feeling charitable this year, I might even wear a green tie.
Really? Yeah. I am Irish, part Irish, though. Foley, I think, is sort of like Smith in Irish. I pretty common over there.
Yeah. And my in-laws, or my mother-in-law was a Carney from, I can't tell you where, but somewhere in Ireland. So, in any event, now we were talking about drug people. It actually can extend, and when everybody thinks about drugs, they think about cocaine, heroin, OxyContins, any type of narcotic drug, maybe marijuana, but people can also have alcohol addictions, can they not?
Absolutely. I would assert that because it's legal to consume alcohol, it's probably the biggest addiction we have in this country is addiction to alcohol. I mean, nothing exempts alcohols as having addictive qualities, and certainly people can become physically and psychologically dependent upon it.
And as a result of that, everybody thinks of alcohol crimes being DWIs, and of course those are alcohol crimes, but other crimes are committed as a result of alcohol consumption or abuse. And would those people also be eligible for your drug court program?
They would be. I think, see, we have a phone call.
Is it Reed?
We don't
Reed?
know.
But we do have a call, so let's take it. Caller, welcome.
Good morning. First off, I'd like to make mention of a local occurrence that will be happening. The Westfield School is presenting a musical, Hairspray, and it should fit right into the memories of many of your viewers because it's based on the 50s and 60s.
Tell us when it is, please.
It's around the 1st of April. I'm not sure of the exact time. And it also has a tie-in with a local business in Westfield. There are a lot of singers and dancers there, and several of the dancers are alumni, and in fact still going to Mrs. Bishop's Center Stage Studio, and have learned their art, and they do very well. Can you tell I might know somebody there?
You may. Yeah, we could kind of tell that.
But it sounds like it's going to be a wonderful, fun time, and
it does. How would one get into that? Is there a phone number or an address, or is it at the school?
I do not have that information. I'm sure if you call the school, the Westfield School, though, that they would have all the information. Or if you know a high schooler from Westfield, I'm sure they would have or be able to get the information.
Anyone interested should keep their eyes and ears open to maybe get some information as to when it is so they don't miss it.
Yes. Next time I'll try to have more information.
Thank you.
And I do have a question for your guest, a quick
Sure.
one. With all the cuts in the budgets all over the United States, including New York State, of course, is this going? Are the cuts going to, especially in Chautauqua County, affect A, the amount of people working, and B, the amount of people that we might feel we might not inter because we don't have the facility to keep them for certain crimes?
I think that we will see an impact, and we already have seen an impact. For example, I was saying earlier, I've lost 3 secretaries at one point when Jim was the district attorney. I think we were up to 7. We're now down to 4, which of course affects my office's ability to create files. We're under time constraints. We need to produce files. We need to get out notices, and it puts a lot of stressors on our office. I receive a lot of grant money through New York State and through the federal government to pay for prosecutors. That has continually decreased over the years. We've been able to maintain. I often tell people, they talk about consolidation with towns and cities and county governments. There's no way to consolidate my office. I'm the only level of prosecution that there is. We don't have local people out there. It's all done on the county level. In a broader perspective, New York State, for example, we were speaking earlier about sort of allowing more of the state prisoners with drug offenses to be provided opportunities to enter programs and not go to state prison. You have Governor Cuomo talking about closing certain juvenile facilities and state prisons. I think that if the financial crisis continues the way it is, you're going to find in reality that more people that commit crimes either aren't going to be going to state prison or are going to be serving less time.
Well, that has its good points and its bad points, doesn't it?
Well, you know, the funny thing is I was speaking to one of my prosecutors yesterday about this. When you talk about criminal jurisprudence, of course, there are several different theories that you go on, but one of the theories we always have to be mindful as prosecutors is judicial economy and efficiency. And Reed asked me, I think last time, you know, do most of the cases you deal with get, you know, do you plead them out? We do. I mean, with 7,500 cases, if you were to go to trial on all those, there's no way that you could even have a trial a day and get through all of them. You know, there's only 365 days in a year. So,
absolutely,
you know, it's a strained system, and thank goodness we have people like my prosecutors, Jim Subjack, who was the DA, that recognize that, and we deal with it. Not only is it strained on our level, but law enforcement agencies are strained. I was saying last time, the criminal justice system in Chautauqua County really has gone unchanged for probably 40 or 50 years. We only have one county court judge, and if you look at the county court judge's numbers, he handles a larger caseload than any county court judge individually handles in Erie County. But they have. I think
in part this is because it used to be years ago when I was a child, if a child, especially a child, got into trouble, the local police might go to the parents, take the child directly to the parents' house and say, this ball, da 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 da, and the parents handled it. And yes, they spanked and so forth, so UPS or CPS would have, like now, if you spank your child, CPS is going to be at your door 9 times out of 10. And children are being criminalized where they weren't be. You didn't become a criminal for some of the mischievous things you might have done as a child. And now you're becoming a criminal for those things.
Well, I mean, I guess my response, number one, is you're right to the extent that I think police, and it's just based upon our sort of litigious sort of society, that police have received mandates that they need to, if you have probable cause to arrest, and if you don't, then you're potentially putting yourself at risk for a certain amount of liability. For the second part of that, I would hope that my office and my prosecutors and myself have enough discretion to recognize that we're not in the business of creating a criminal out of an 18 or a 19-year-old kid, that we need to set in place some parameters that are going to maybe hold that child's feet to the fire for a little while, but in the end will not create a permanent criminal record. Jim had made me a prosecutor back in the day originally when my father first retired, the prosecutor in the village of Fredonia for misdemeanors. And of course you had SUNY Fredonia, and you had kids that were 18 and 19 years old leaving their homes for the first time and, you know, getting into some trouble. Not big trouble, but enough so that they would have charges placed against them. And of course I always had Jim's consent to work with the school and work with those kids and not try to create a criminal record for those kids, because then those kids would get kicked out of college. You know, in essence, what you're doing is creating a criminal out of that. Unfortunately, the police are limited in their discretion. They were years ago. Is that good? Is that bad? I don't really know. But what it certainly does is it increases the number of cases that my office needs to deal with.
Right. Well, I'm going to get off, and you've been very enlightening to me, and hopefully Mr. Powers will get a chance to get through.
Yes, thank you.
And have a wonderful day, and the weather looks like it's thinking spring, and happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone out there.
Thank you. And remember to, you spring your clock forward tonight.
Absolutely.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I think everybody's tired of winter. I think that at some point there's going to be a riot down in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania to go get that fat rat that lied to us. Said it was going to be a short winter. He certainly wasn't telling the truth. Now, we talked
for Western New York, if it's only 6 more weeks, that is short.
That's true, that's true. That's a good point. But we talked about, as before the caller, that it's not just the DWI that gets into drug court. There's other people that are alcohol addicted that get in that might commit, for example, a petty larceny. DWI is a component, obviously, but there are other crimes as well. So part of the drug court population is, in fact, people who have the alcohol addiction as opposed to a different drug.
Absolutely, and we even allow DWI offenders into the program. I mean, you have to, at some point, I mean, if someone is looking at their third or fourth driving while intoxicated, that really is evidence of an addiction.
Real problem.
A real problem. I mean, most people and I'm sure you agree with this, most of the people that are charged with a DWI, typically you never see again.
That's right.
They
made a mistake.
They made a mistake. They take their licks, and nowadays those licks are pretty severe, and it's not a good idea.